Hi guys, it's Erin. Today is super exciting. It's a real big planting day. I had to bring my calendar with me because I couldn't keep it in my head. We have, I think, 14 different trays of flowers to plant. I'm going to go through everything that we're going to do. We have a couple extra little fun additions to what we're going to do. And these are some of we're finally getting into some of the warm season flowers. There's so much fun. There's still some hardy annuals in here, and we'll go through all of them just to refresh everybody on what we're doing. 14 trays. I had to make a bunch of room on the rack over there because there just wasn't any, and our benches are already starting to get full, though a whole bunch of this stuff like the snapdragons and my biennials, all those guys, in a week or two, well, 2 weeks probably, we have a cold snap coming, so it's going to be too cold to put them out. But all of these in a couple of weeks should be able to go out into the fields. We'll harden them off, and I'll walk you through how that goes. These are the ranunculus, so everything's got to move its way out. Most of this stuff that's here on the bench will make its way out of here in the next couple of weeks, which is good. We're getting very close to starting our big batches of summer annuals. So this stuff has got to make its way through the greenhouse and get out so that we don't overlap and run out of space. I did the math, I can fit around 60 something trays in here without having to bring in extra tables, which I have done in the past because the weather wasn't cooperating with planting out. But ideally, the plants are moving in and out of here, so I don't have that problem. But we're here, so let's start walking through everything that we're going to plant today. The first thing on my list is black-eyed Susans. So we are going to, I've talked about this before, I have one whole row out there that's already still full of black-eyed Susans. I have Indian Summer and Sahara out there. I don't think that the Sahara is going to come back. And I haven't ever left Indian Summer out there over the season or over the winter before. So I'm just gonna sow these as a backup to what's out there. And if I end up with a whole bunch of extra flowers, I'm not gonna complain. I can pot them up, I can put them in the other gardens. It's just, I don't wanna not have them, so we're gonna plant them. I'm gonna do one tray of the Indian Summer and then 3 trays of Sahara. There's a lot. Sahara is my favorite. If you've not seen it or you haven't seen any of my previous videos, this is by far my favorite of all of the black-eyed Susans. It's just so pretty. Such a range of colors that they can go with all kinds of different color mixes. So the only thing about starting black-eyed Susans is that they need light to germinate. So I will just surface sow all of these. So I'm gonna just put them on top of the soil and then maybe not cover them with vermiculite and just spray them down and put them underneath the grow lights. This should be pretty easy. So in this video, I plan to walk through all of these plants, how to sow them, but I've done some other how-tos on seed sowing before, so I'm not gonna spend too awful much time, but I do wanna walk through them all. They're really exciting varieties and plants that some of which a few of you guys have asked a bit more detail on. So we'll talk about those, and then I will just get them all sown and we'll get into our other projects. It's really exciting. Okay, so Rudbeckia was first. So the next seeds that we're gonna start are stock. This is the first of 2 rounds that we're gonna do of these. Stock is a one and done flower. It puts up 1 bloom spike, you cut it off, flowers are done, or the plant is done. So I like to succession sow these at least once in the season so that I can have 2 rounds of them to spread my harvest window out a bit. So I will sow these now, 4 trays of them, and then in about a month I will do the same thing. I'll sow 4 trays of different varieties, but 4 more trays. So the varieties that I'm sowing this time are Iron Apricot. It's a really, really soft peachy, almost like a creamy peachy color. And then Cat's Double White. This one is really good. It's a very thick, can get tall plumes of flowers, pure white. It's gorgeous, and it doesn't seem to get beat up by the weather that we have in the spring. We get a lot of rain and random windstorms and whatnot, so it seems to hold up really well. And then the other one is, we're just going to do a mix, the Iron Pastel. I'll probably do 2 trays of this one. These ones, these first 2 are for wedding work. Most, if not all, florists are going to want to order specific varieties. But the mix is for all my market bouquets, because all of these colors, there's a lavender and a soft pink and a white and a cream, and these all, I think a yellow, a very soft yellow. These will go with the color palette for everything that I'm growing for the spring markets. So the Iron Pastel. So we will do 4 trays, 72 counts of stock. The next one is exciting. This is my Lavatera. We're gonna do 3 trays of Lavatera and Malope. I use them pretty interchangeably. The flowers, you can see the 2 different types. They're very similar in shape, and their growth mirrors each other. The 3 different colors that I'm doing is this pink blush, this really soft light pink that's just beautiful. Just the white, the Mont Blanc. It's very just white, but these white flowers, again, they don't hurt, or they don't get beat up real easily. They're pretty tough. And then this Vulcan Malope, this hot pink. This one is fun in market bouquets. So for me, Lavatera is an absolutely gorgeous flower. For me, it sort of acts like a Cosmo does. It's this really delicate, big, hibiscus-looking flower, but the flower, each stem will have multiple flowers, buds on it, and you want to harvest it when just the first one is starting to open, because it won't last, that one flower won't last but a few days, but the other buds that are on that same bloom will take up the rest of the time. Like the one, it's kind of like a hollyhock or a gladiola. As one bloom fades, the rest of them continue on, and it just extends your vase life for all of them. These really are one of my absolute favorites, and I've said before, I have a wedding that I'm doing for a good friend of mine, and I want to make sure that I have these for that wedding. And then for any wedding work or market bouquets that I can get them into. These guys, most people down at the market don't know what they are, and they're a little nervous about them. But once I explain that the blooms will continue, most people are good with it, and they really love them. But they look so delicate that they just don't look like they'll last very long. But really, for me, they're worth it. They're absolutely spectacular. They're such a romantic, soft look in a bouquet. I just love them. So I will, and these are, I would say, a medium producer. They certainly will put out the first big, strong stem, but once you cut that one, it'll put out more and more. They won't be as thick and sturdy, kind of like a snapdragon as the first one, but they'll still be really good and useful in bouquets. So it's worth it to me. I'm going to take up a good chunk of one of my rows just on Lavatera, or Lavatera, however you say it. The next one I'm going to sow is Dara, Amy. It's wild carrot. It's Daucus Carota. But this one, I'll put pictures up for everything. But this one has the most gorgeous, big discs of umbels of flowers that are sort of in the browns and mauves and incredible colors that they fill the bouquet up, but they don't take center stage. They just give you the most beautiful accents in a bouquet. These are really easy to grow. They don't like it too warm. 60 degrees is fine for them to germinate. You can, and a lot of the seed packet actually suggests that you do succession sowing, but I'm not going to do that. They tend to, they'll put out one big stem and then they'll put out lots of other side stems from there. So I don't, for me, it's not necessary to succession sow these. Maybe it's my climate here that they love so much, but it's perfect for me to just sow them once. They do recommend that you direct seed, but I've talked about this before. Direct seeding for me, I have a whole lot of struggle with it. Certain varieties of certain plants, I can get away with it, but most things that I grow, the birds take. Birds and whatever other critters are running around, the mice in our field, and I lose probably 50% or more of everything that I sow out there, so it's really just not worth it for me. So I will sow them indoors. I'm just doing one tray of these because they get big. They'll get 4 or 5 feet tall and they'll get 2-3 feet wide, so I don't need any more than one tray of them. The next one, oh shoot, hold that thought. I gotta go get them out of the freezer. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot. I have my Bupleurum in the freezer. I've talked about this before, but these guys, they really need a cold stratification period, which means they need to be below a certain temperature for an amount of time to think that, so that the seeds think that they went through winter. So these guys have been in the freezer for a couple of weeks now. And that should be enough for them. I'm gonna do 2 trays of Bupleurum. I've planted some, I sowed some directly out in the field last fall. I saw a little bit of germination before the weather turned, but I'm just not gonna bank on it. And I've had good success, even though if you read the seed packet, it'll tell you don't try to grow them indoors, just direct seed them. But I have had good success sowing them indoors and transplanting them out, as long as I do it fast enough. So I will get these into the ground or into the soil. It's just to cover it with like a 1/4 inch of soil. I will put them, they don't want to be warm, so I'll put them on a rack down away from, I won't put them on a heat mat, I won't put them real close to the heater, but I will make sure that once they get probably 2 sets of true leaves, I'm gonna harden them off and get them out in the fields. The longer that they sit into one of these trays, the less likely they're gonna do well. And they certainly want the cooler weather. So that means that probably, if all goes well, early March, I'll be planting these outside along with a lot of everything else. The goal is to get most of my cool flowers outside in March. Our last frost isn't until the first part of April, but these guys want it to be cold, so I'm gonna do my best to get them all out there in March so that they're settled in and growing in the cool weather so that I get the best flower production out of them. But these guys, Bupleurum, they'll get 4 feet tall, roughly, for me. And they put out these big, beautiful, well, they're not really big, they're kind of wispy, but these beautiful sprays of little tiny yellow flowers. They're just gorgeous. And they make such a great filler for your bouquets. It's definitely worth it for me to take up 20 feet of my beds to have these growing. So these we're gonna sow, like I said, 2 trays today. I have a whole bunch of trays all filled up and ready to go. And then we have a couple fun things that we're gonna start. Not that all of this isn't fun. I didn't talk to you about how to sow the Lavatera. These guys, it's super easy. Just make a little well, put them in the ground or in the soil. It's only gonna be, 1/4 inch deep. Keep them evenly moist. They do want it to be warm, so I will put these on a heat mat until they sprout, and then I'll take them off. I'll have a dome over them. I'll take the dome off once they start sprouting, and then they'll be good to go. These are really easy, and I've actually had them self-sow out in the field and come back. So these are a really good one if you're in a zone 8 or above. I'm not positive if you're in a lower zone. And stock, they're just 1/4 inch deep. Nothing special about growing or seeding them into trays. Okay, and then the last couple things that we're gonna sow today, we're gonna do some veggies and a really fun flower that's not actually for the cut flower field, it's for my own gardens. So I'm gonna sow chives today. I have a pot, a big terracotta pot that I'm gonna put these in. It'll stay in here next to where I potted the other day some lettuces, some little butter lettuces in a pot. I think it'll just be sweet to have them, and they should germinate fairly quickly. These will just need to be placed in the soil just as deep as they are big. So we'll get that done. And then I'm gonna start some celery today. These are 84 day, which means February, March, April, May. They should be up and going and ready to start harvesting in June, which is exciting. I'm gonna put this in a 6-pack because I don't need a whole lot. So we'll sow these up along with everything else, and then they'll grow in here until it's time that I can put them out into the garden in April. And then the last fun thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna sow some heliotrope. When we were in Victoria, Canada last October, the last few years we've gone up there for our anniversary, and I love it. And the Butch Hart Gardens is just about an hour away from where we stay in downtown Victoria. So we go up there every year. I did a whole video where we toured through there, and I love that place. It's just so beautiful. But there was one garden that we were walking through that the scent in there was such a warm, sugary scent that we spent probably 15 minutes just sniffing around and everything to try to figure out where that was coming from. Turns out it was heliotrope. This has such an incredible scent. It's not a bright, showy flower, but the scent from it the fragrance just makes its way around the garden, and it's definitely something I'm super excited to grow. So I'm gonna do, I don't know how many seeds are in this packet, so we'll do a tray if I have it, and I'll put them all over the garden. They're just an annual for me. They're zones, I think, 10, 11, so they won't stay, but they're super, super cool. These guys get, this one, it says it should get about a foot tall, foot and a half tall, so it's not a huge plant. But the color is really pretty. It should be that deep purpley blue, and just the aroma. If you've watched any of my videos in the past couple of years, I think you've probably noticed that I have a thing for scented flowers, and this one is right up there with the stock. Stock is my all-time favorite for scented flowers. I'm excited. I have a couple other scented flowers that are being shipped to me later in the season too that I'm really looking forward to. I'll share those with you when they show up. But there's nothing special about planting this one either, just a 1/16 of an inch deep, and yeah, super easy. Okay, so I'm gonna set up, and I'm just gonna rock through getting all of these seeded. So this shouldn't take too awful long, but it'll take a little bit. So like I said, I'm just gonna set up the camera and start working my way through these. My goodness, that was a bit of a marathon. We've got this entire seed rack completely full, and this one is full except that little bit on the bottom. 14 trays of seeds. Oh, somebody do the math. What's 14 times 72? It's around 1,000 seeds. So, holy cow. Okay, so this part's exciting though. The last couple things we're gonna do, we're gonna start our chives in this pot. I think it'll be really cute, and it should be able to stay for a little while. Chives don't actually get very big, the plants, so should be able to do good. Funny to me that I only need to do such small amounts when I'm normally doing trays and trays and trays full of flowers, that I don't need to do that much when I'm doing stuff just for our own home veggie garden. Okay, chives. And the celery we're gonna do in this little 6-pack, because like I said, I only need a little bit. It's just us here. So these seeds, I haven't grown chives from seed before, so this one's new to me. It should be fun though. We have some chives out in the field. They kind of line one of our walkways, but nothing crazy. They're just like any other onion seed, really, just tiny little black seeds. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make just a little bit of a well, and I'm literally gonna spread them around. Chives, it turns into one big plant, and just cover it over, and then I'll thin it to whatever I need it to be. Chives are super fun, and they're so cute with their little purple fluff ball flowers. They're so pretty. And I'm honestly gonna do the same thing as I would with any other seed and just spray it in. Now, like I said earlier, this is gonna just stay in here while it's super cold outside. It's gonna be down into the low 20s for the next 10 days-ish. So this is gonna stay in the greenhouse right next to the butter lettuce that we did in the last video, or one of the last videos. I really think it'll be nice to have something in here growing that's really just for us. It's not for the flower farm. It's just growing some veggies in here for us to enjoy. And then the celery, super easy, just 6-pack of celery. It says that you should do this outside, just direct sow them, which I have better luck with veggie seeds than I do flower seeds when it comes to direct sowing, but I'm gonna give this a try anyways. Can you see how tiny all those little seeds are? So we're just gonna sprinkle a few in each cell. These seeds, are these new? These seeds are pretty old, so any extra in there is just gonna help our germination rate. And then same thing, spray it in, water it in. And both of these will germinate at lower temperatures between 55 and 70, then it stays around there in here. So they're just gonna go on the bench, and yeah, hopefully we'll see some growth here soon. This guy, I'm just gonna put over here, and it should be happy. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Lots of flowers getting started right now, so many more to come. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe it was helpful in some way. And if you like this, hit a thumbs up. Comments if you have any questions or any advice. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.